Halo, kembali lagi dengan episode spesial Best 90s JDM Garasi Drift. Dan kali ini saya membawakan sebuah motor legendaris, yaitu adalah Honda Astrea Supra. Mengapa motor ini sangat legendaris? Karena pada tahun 1997 sampai detik ini motor ini adalah motor bebek yang paling laku di Indonesia. Motor ini yang dijual ratusan ribuan bahkan jutaan unit ini mempunyai beberapa varian. Dan salah satu yang saya punya ini adalah varian Astrea Supra XX. Why the double X? It has a clutch, disc brakes. Now, kembali lagi kita harus mulai dari awal. Supra ini adalah bagian daripada line up Honda pada tahun 1997 sampai 2005. Generasi pertama dengan mesin 97,0 cc atau kode C100 and dub 100 cc ini menggunakan rem cakram dan rem tromol. Posisi duduk bebek yang ergonomis dan datang untuk menggantikan Honda Astrea dan Honda Legenda. Oke, like its predecessors, the Honda Supra atau saya bilang Astrea Supra ini menggunakan beberapa model baru yang lebih modern dan sporty. Contohnya, sebelumnya di Grand atau Astrea Grand, dia tidak memiliki desain buritan yang kalau boleh dibilang modern, tapi lebih kotak. Ini menggunakan chrome finish dan buritan yang lebih naik, which looks like my butt is really upright and very sporty. So the ergonomics on this is very well refined. Perjalanan jauh atau zaman dulu saya sering pulang kampung, motor Honda Supra ini akan lebih nyaman dikendarai daripada yang sebelumnya. Nah, balik lagi, motor ini tahun 2003 dan tahun 2002 itu Honda Astra Motor mengeluarkan dua varian, yaitu adalah varian Supra, Supra X, Supra V, dan Supra Double X. Apa bedanya? Nah, Supra itu tidak menggunakan rem cakram. Walaupun part-partnya mesin sama, mereka hanya dibedakan dengan rem dan kopling. Dan versi koplingnya itu sebenarnya simple. Supra V menggunakan rem tromol depan belakang dan kopling, dan Supra Double X menggunakan rem cakram dan rem tromol. Tetapi karena motor ini tidak diminati banyak orang, pada tahun 2005 itu digantilah dengan namanya Supra Fit untuk menyenggol pasar motor Cina yang pada saat itu semakin meraup jalanan ibu kota. Kembali lagi, motor dengan 4 transmisi percepatan ini dan single carburetor yang sebenarnya cukup powerful ini bisa dibilang pelan untuk standar sekarang, tapi pada saat itu motor ini sangat kencang. Kembali lagi kepada legenda-legendanya, bukan Astrea Legenda tapi Supra ini adalah salah satu motor di Indonesia yang membuat Bekasi atau Kalimalang seperti saat ini. Oke, dengan gaya berkendara seperti ini, perjalanan jauh merasa jauh lebih nyaman daripada Honda Legenda atau Honda Astrea Grand. Nah, dengan Honda Astrea Supra ini, awalnya Supra XX itu untuk mengambil pasar-pasar orang-orang yang ingin berpindah dari motor laki ke motor bebek. Makanya diciptakanlah sistem kopling dengan 4 transmisi, 4 percepatan gitu. Nah, moving on, if you really don't like the way I talk in English, now there is a subtitle in which we will write down. So if you don't understand, please don't comment or hate, because it really hurts the views and the video itself. So rather than pressing that dislike button, press the like button and read the subtitle, okay? Nah, kembali lagi kepada Honda Supra Double X ini, dia memiliki bagasi yang cukup nyaman. Kenapa gitu? Karena pada saat itu pilihan-pilihannya kurang banyak ya. No, we're just kidding. Let's just cut to the Supra instead. This is my pick. Now, on yesterday's episode, it was a Honda NSX by Depo, and I think it's a fair choice, but really it isn't quite the status as the Toyota Supra. Unlike its three counterparts of the best 90s JDM sports cars, the Toyota Supra fits #1 on my book any day. Not only because it's a Yoda, but because it's a 10-second car. Now, mungkin tidak seperti yang lain-lain, tapi memang Toyota Supra ini satu-satunya di antara mereka yang menggunakan namanya part sharing. Yes, mobil ini memang ada saudaranya dan banyak sekali saudaranya. Contoh, Toyota Soarer atau Toyota Chaser yang menggunakan powertrain, drivetrain, basically all the suspension components. So they're all the same. So really, this car is someone you would meet like, it's like your ex. Kayak mantan lo yang lo udah pernah temu jelek, tapi sekarang kok cantik banget. Ini Supra. Maybe she got a little bit fat, but even that bit fat really fits on the large wheels. Now, in 1990, Toyota had the idea of building a sports car. At the time, they had the Soarer already. Now, the Soarer itself wasn't really a sports car. It was really a Grand Tourer. So what did Toyota do? It fitted this Supra with a fastback. Really charms most of the 90s feel, yeah? In the 80s, Toyota was famous with this JZA-70 Supra, which also includes a fastback-like design. Toyota further enhanced this with a more aerodynamic body shape. So the contour and everything really fits into the 90s theme. Now, we must talk again why this car is legendary. Unlike most cars, and unlike the cars in the other three cars that my friends and peers reviewed, this one actually was the first one with a movie on it. So this car, literally this Supra, starred in the movie franchise Fast and the Furious with supporting actors such as Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. Now, on the final scene where it jumped over the trains, yeah? And Vin Diesel crashes car, Dominic Toretto crashes Charger. I mean, Dom said to Brian, like, you owe me a 10-second car. And this is the very first base for a 10-second car. Bisa dibilang ini mobil yang aftermarket supportnya banyak, tuningnya luar biasa gampang, dan sejujurnya pada saat barunya harganya tidak terlalu mahal. Dari produksi tahun 1993 sampai 2002, 9 tahun dari produksi, mobil ini diproduksi sebanyak 45.000 unit, kurang lebih. Di mana 5.000 ke pasar Amerika, 10.000 ke pasar Eropa, sisanya ke Asia dan Jepang. Mobil ini ada versi JDM dan USDM-nya, so there is a left and right hand drive. So really it isn't JDM as fuck really, but still JDM gitu. It's more JDM than your SO4 or Civic or most other Agias with JDM as fuck stickers, right? So this really is a JDM car. Kembali lagi, the Toyota Supra itself, why is it my pick? And I was like, oh Evan, you can pick the GTR, you can pick the NSX. Why the Supra? Because the Supra was actually the first one also with a 2J engine in it. And me in motorsport. Okay, you must understand this. The motorsport of drifting, nama judul, nama titel garasi drift sendiri kan drifting ya. Boleh tanya anak drifting, mesin apa yang paling sering dipakai? And they would probably answer 2JZ. Why the 2JZ? Because it's the easiest, hardest, and toughest engine to tune. Okay, moving to the exterior of the car. Back in the 90s, most cars were rounded. As did Toyota, they made a very round shape. As you can see from the previous generation Supra of the Mark III Supra, the Mark IV is very round. Included in which the rounded end edges, a very round fastback loop, and over this very round rear wing. Now, kembali lagi, mobil ini standar, tidak ada modifikasi body kit yang dilakukan. Hanya beberapa kit TRD seperti splitter depan, yang sebenarnya menambah downforce karena splitternya itu sendiri menekan mobil lebih ke bawah, dan wingnya menekan mobil dari belakang untuk lebih napak. This car is not very light, it's actually very fat. This is actually one of the fattest cars between the four. This car weighs approximately 1,490 kilograms. So ini mobil yang paling berat di antara tiga itu semua. Tetapi mobil ini mempunyai beberapa hal yang bisa membuatnya lebih cepat. Salah satunya, dengan konfigurasi mesin depan dan gerak belakang yang sempurna, mobil ini mempunyai distribusi beban 50-50, which means it has a very even load on all sides. That load is delivered through the tires. Now, the tires are very, very cool, especially. The wheels itself is a raised GTLM Nismo wheel, ya. So ini sebenarnya velgnya bukan buat Toyota, tapi buat Nissan. Tapi karena dibuat oleh Race, really is an aftermarket wheel. Kalau misalnya ada beberapa yang di sana mengerti mobil, Ini bentuknya mirip banget sama TRD T3. I'll be honest, without the middle stripe, but it really looks like a big TRD T3, so it really fits the part on this Supra. Now, one thing by critics that was appraised of this car was its brakes. Now, the brakes on the Supra were very famous. From 97 to 2004, this particular Supra had the best stopping power for 7 years until the Porsche Carrera GT overtook it in 2004. Now, these brakes are very standard 2-pot and 4-pot and 2-pot piston calipers, yeah, with a very large steel ventilated disc. However, its braking system that was optimized by using an electronic module is capable of putting this car from 100 to 0 kilometers an hour in only 45 meters, which means it's very good at stopping. Anda bisa lihat dari ciri khas belakang buritan Supra, 4 lampu, 1 lampu rem, 1 lampu malam, lampu sen, dan lampu mundur. Ini benar-benar bisa terlihat seperti layaknya beberapa lampu-lampu aftermarket di beberapa mobil-mobil biasa. Dan juga di fitur Supra adalah wiper belakang. Now, this is not very common on European cars, but it was very common on Japanese cars. It really is essential. It really shows a J look. It really is JDM. I mean, this car looks like from behind JDM as fuck. Bisa dilihat di sini tempat duduk atau cockpit mengendarai yang sangat ergonomis. Desainnya ini sendiri looks more than a car. It really looks like a fighter jet. Now, you know the previous video Deepo suggested about the NSX? It was actually designed in mind with the F-16 Fighting Falcon cockpit. Now, this car may not be designed as a fighter jet, but it really looks more of a fighter jet than the NSX. Now, these seats, they're not sport seats, and they won't hug you real time. And there'll be another, and they're not supposed to be used for track days or whatnot. But these are very comfortable. It hugs you just enough and releases you at the time you need to let go some stress and pain. So you can go long distances with these cars. I mean, it's essentially a Grand Tourer because the chassis, remember, it was a Soarer, so it was technically a Grand Tourer, and it still is until this day. Now, moving into the car, it's really, really easy. It's not the hardest thing you can do. It's not as low as the NSX or as high as the GTR. Oh, I'll be honest with you, the RX-7 is too small for me, so I think the Supra is the best. Why? Because look, I can easily slide right in and close my door. And as you can see from outside, it really looks nice. My headline is here. It's awesome. It's like a child again, me being 10. So, we're now inside the Supra, and what I can tell you, it's really comfortable because this car, at the underpinnings, was a Lexus SC. Now, granted, it was a Grand Tourer and Toyota wanted to make a sportier car, so the Supra had a lot of tweaks and fine arrangements with it, but the car itself is still a Grand Tourer inside. So, it really is nice and pleasant to take on long journeys. Now, ngomongin mobil ini sendiri, mobilnya sebenarnya sangat ergonomis. Karena bentuknya sporty banget, jujur ini controls, these are one of the best controls I've ever been. It's like being inside a fighter jet. I mean, look at these, you can touch everything everywhere, and it's really driver focus oriented. It feels like you're in a fighter jet. Even this air vents, you know, they look like fighter jet air vents. They're really cool. And what's most important about these cars are the way they make you feel, because it's a very, because of the intuitive feeling, you have a sense of connection, more connection with the car. And unlike the 3 other cars, this is actually the one I'd like to sit most on because it's really nice and comfy. Now, driving this car, really, because it was based on a Grand Tourer, the steering is actually very light. Unlike the 3 other cars were actually heavy and weighted, feels more sporty, this car is really light. And it's not actually bad, it's really good. It's really sharp though, tapi mungkin nggak seresponsif yang lain. It's not as bad as the NSX. It has electric power steering, the NSX, yeah? This one still uses a hydraulic rack. Although fine-tuned, it was still based on a Grand Tourer, so in terms of sportiness, it doesn't feel very sporty at all. Oke, jok belakangnya memang ini sebuah lelucon banget menurut gue. Karena you can't even fit Ilman. Supaya lo taruh Ilman di belakang nggak bisa, you would cut his legs like here just to fit him there. I mean, it really has no space. So it is just a joke for the rear seat. But again, what makes the Supra special isn't its rear seats.
It's actually more about the character itself. Because it's a Toyota, it's really nice to use, very reliable, and it's very dependable. However, because of the part sharing with a lot of other Toyotas, even the stock looks cheap. Like this looks like the one straight out of a Corolla. I mean, I love you Toyota, but you could do a little bit more better on that one. But still, this car is a legend and I'd still love it to this day. I mean, there's no question about it. It is one of the best cars. You can sit, be, drive in. You can go long distances, short ones, race, anything really. It's really nice. Now, I've shown you around the car. I forgot to talk to you about the most important aspects of the car, which is its technical side. Now, remember this car has a 2J engine, and really explaining to you what a 2J engine is in a simple 5-minute speech wouldn't make it justice. So maybe next time Dipo and I will make a video on the 2J engine and why it's very legendary. But remember, out of all the four, this is my pick for my legendary JDM sports cars. Because in the 90s and early 2000s, you cannot not say hello to the Toyota Supra. I'm Evan and thank you. See you guys real soon. Bye-bye.